title of the presentation today. My name is Nurul Asyifah. I would like to present to you about my final report, with the title is The Innovation of Roasted Taro Getuk as a New Variant of Getuk to Develop Indonesian's Traditional Food. And this is the table of content of my final report. The first is background, the second is literature review, and the third is research methodology, and the fourth is findings and discussion, and the last is suggestion and conclusion and suggestion. Alright, I will start the presentation. Indonesia is one of country that has a variety of delicious culinary delight from each region. There are many types of traditional Indonesian cakes. Each cake has its own characteristic. Indonesian culinary has a very diverse variety because Indonesia has several provinces, each of which has traditional regional food as a characteristic of its own regions. With the existence of traditional specialties from each region in Indonesia, making people interested in coming to the area to taste the specialties. Getuk is one of the traditional snacks made from cassava as the main ingredients and is usually found in Central Java and East Java. Snack in ancient times almost drowned in the midst of the many modern snacks that are more liked by many people in this era, so that these getuk do not become extinct. Innovations are needed that can make this getuk more attractive in the eye of the community, both from the young to the older class. Taro is one of the many types or tubers that have not been processed into a dish such as cake, even though there are many food preparation made from other tubers, and besides cassava, taro also easy to find in traditional market. And the problem of this final report is how to make the roasted taro getuk as a new variant of getuk to develop Indonesian's traditional food. And the purpose of this job the purpose of the final report is to know about how to make the innovation of roasted taro getuk as a new variant of getuk to develop the Indonesian's traditional food. The benefits of this final report, there are two benefits, and the first is for the writer and the second is for the reader. For the writer is giving knowledge about making the innovation of the roasted taro getuk as a new variant of getuk, and the second is for the reader, giving information about the step and the ingredients to make roasted taro getuk as a new variant of getuk to develop Indonesian's traditional food. The second material is literature review. The definition of innovation, according to Kotler and Keller, 2016, an innovation is a good service or idea that someone perceives as a new, no matter how long its history. The spread of a new idea from its source of invention or creation to its ultimate users or adopter. The next is getuk. Getuk is a traditional snack originating from Central Java and East Java. Getuk is made from boiled cassava, then pounded with sugar, then shaped into a square or kneaded and served with a sprinkling of grated coconut. Types of getuk can be distinguished based on the manufacturing process, such as getuk lindri, getuk goreng, and getuk panggang. And the next is types of taro. Types of taro plains in Indonesia are divided into three, namely taro Bogor, taro Kimpul atau Belitung, and taro Padang. The next is chapter 3. In this chapter, we have discussed about research methodology. And there are 3 steps of research of this final report is preliminary study, model development, and final product testing. And the first step is preliminary study. It is consists of 3 steps, and the first is literature study, and the second is field survey, and the third is model draft. In model development, we have through for testing of the product. The first is limited testing, and the second is wider testing. The writer will give the sample of the product for the expert, and the expert will suggest about the texture, color, appearance, and others about the product. And the third is final product testing. It consists of 3 steps. The first is pre-testing, and the second is final product, and the third is dissemination. And the next chapter is chapter 4. And in this chapter, we have discussed about findings and discussion. There are three steps in the preliminary study. The first is literature study, the second is field survey, and the third is model draft. And the writer read some website about the recipe of getuk from Resep Koki, and the writer got information about the recipe of getuk from the trader of getuk, Mrs. Anna. After read some website articles on the ingredients and method of cooking getuk and asking the trader of getuk, the writer start to develop roasted taro getuk at her house on the ingredients and method of cooking getuk and asking the interviews. The next is model development. Model development, the writer concentrate on 2 types of testing throughout this stage: limited testing and wider testing. In the limited testing, the writer gives sample of the product for Mr. Moza Suryadharma as the lecturer of pastry at the State Polytechnic of Sriwijaya, and Mr. Iskandar as a pastry chef at the Exultant Hotel Palembang. In wider testing, the writer gives sample of the product for 5 people. The first is Mrs. Amy as the owner of Palembang's traditional food store, and the second is Mrs. Srihastuti as an online cake store, and the third is Mrs. Ayu as a seller of Palembang's traditional food, and the fourth is Mrs. Weni as a student college of State Polytechnic of Sriwijaya, and the last is Mrs. Rahmaniar Fariza as a student college of State Polytechnic of Sriwijaya. And the last is final product testing. The writer doesn't do this step because of many factors. And the last chapter is chapter 5. Conclusion and suggestion. According to expert of limited testing, the taste and appearance is good enough, but the texture is too dry, so the writer still needed to revise recipe of roasted taro getuk based on the suggestion of the expert. The respondents in wider testing agree that the taste and the appearance is good enough, but the texture is too dry, so recipe of roasted taro getuk is still needed to revise according to respondent suggestion. I think enough about my final report presentation. I think that's all. Thank you very much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.